Welcome to this Quick Take Rapid Learning module. Today's topic, dealing with mistakes, what high-performing teams do differently. Melissa is a manager who doesn't get much peace and quiet. Her team constantly complains to her about office procedures. They vent to her about the mistakes their coworkers make, and they stick their noses into projects that don't involve them. Down the hall, Ted oversees a very different team. His people don't whine and complain. They know exactly what their jobs are and stick to them. And if mistakes happen, Ted's team takes care of them, often without getting Ted involved at all. If you're thinking that this quick take is going to show you how to get a team like Ted's, you'd be wrong. In fact, in this quick take, you will learn why you'd be better off with Melissa's troublemakers. A key difference between high-performing and low-performing teams when it comes to mistakes, and how managers can promote communication that gets problems out in the open where they can be solved. Ted's team looks like it has things under control, but according to research out of Harvard, it could be putting his entire organization at risk. In fact, researchers at the Harvard Business School concluded that one sign of an effective team is noisy and nosy employees. People who feel free to point out problems, raise concerns, and chime in on issues that, strictly speaking, are outside their own responsibilities. The study looked at teams in nearly 200 hospitals where effective leadership and communication can mean the difference between life and death. The researchers found that the units with the best leadership and best coworker communication reported 10 times more mistakes than the worst-performing units. So, were the top teams really making 10 times as many mistakes? Of course not. When the researchers interviewed teams who reported very few errors, they found that workers were making lots and lots of mistakes. The mistakes just weren't being reported. When the researchers dug deeper, they discovered that these teams were run by managers who saw errors as failures. If mistakes were made, heads would roll. So, employees underreported errors, which meant that the problems didn't get fixed and errors kept happening. The irony is that these managers thought they had everything under control, when they actually had no idea what was really going on in their department. These findings raise a challenging question for you as a manager. Are your people telling you about problems or sweeping them under the rug? Every team has its share of problems and mistakes. The key difference is that top-performing teams get them out in the open and address them. The reason they do, the research found, is that the managers of these teams didn't label the people who point out problems as troublemakers, whiners, and complainers. Instead, they celebrated people who spoke up. Of course, there's a difference between constructive and destructive criticism, and this research doesn't suggest that you need to tolerate malcontents or people who simply have an axe to grind. But it does suggest that teams are more successful when people feel comfortable speaking up. The Harvard study revealed something else surprising. The most talented employees often contributed to underreporting of problems. Not intentionally, of course, but top performers tend to excel at keeping the trains running and getting results. So, when they see a problem, they just work around it and move on. What they often don't do is bring the problem to the manager, so the root cause never gets addressed. As a manager, you may not be in a position to see everything that's going on, so it's up to you to create an environment where reporting mistakes is encouraged. As the research suggests, your best bet is to cultivate a noisy, nosy team, one made up of people who want to learn and grow, who question flawed procedures, and who speak up when they see room for improvement. Here are some specific recommendations for how to create this kind of environment. Celebrate mistakes and turn them into learning experiences. Let employees know that what separates high performers from low performers isn't mistakes per se, but whether the person owns the mistake and learns from it. Walk the talk. Admitting mistakes is scary, and people won't believe you merely because you say it's okay. To remove the stigma of mistakes, you need to gain trust and credibility by routinely admitting your own mistakes. Explain what you learned, what changes you made, and why both you and the organization are better off. Creating a learning culture by modeling the way. Do that, and your people will follow. Thanks for watching. Now return to the program page and take the quiz. Also, please take 15 seconds to click on the survey link and fill out an evaluation of this program.